All right. Well, in theory, I should be streaming. So before we actually get started with the recording, I'm going to double check that that is indeed the case. So bear with me. Yeah, that must be it. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. That's crazy. So if I go here, okay, good. And I'm not used to this live streaming. All right, so there we go. We are live streaming. Now I got to get back to OBS and hit the start recording. So, welcome to Mike Dell's World. This is Mike, and I am coming to you live from the Mike Dell's World studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan. So, yeah, this is kind of a summer update. Those of you that have been listening to my podcast forever know that I don't normally do video, but I'm going to start doing a little video. Why not? You don't have to listen to the audio on a video. You'll just be able to listen to the audio like you normally did. But if you're interested in what the video looks like, it's going to be on YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts HLS and iHeartRadio. If you have that app, it'll play video. Pocket Cast should play video. I don't know for sure, but that's the theory. So anyway, enough about the technology. I'm still testing out Blueberry's implementation of HLS transcoding. Okay, enough geeky stuff. So where has the summer gone? Holy crap. I planned on doing more episodes than I did, but the summer is just flying by. Of course, here in Traverse City, if you've been following along, probably not, but we only have a few east-west corridors across town because we have a big lake right in the middle of town, Boardman Lake, fed by the Boardman River, which will be important here in a little bit in my story here. But back this spring, we had major flooding and then a major snowstorm and then major flooding again after the snowstorm. And it took out a bridge and a half across the Boardman River. There's really only 4 east-west corridors that go from the east side of town to the west side of town. Beitner Road is one of them. And then there's South Airport Road. And there's 8th Street, and there is Front Street and the Parkway, which is kind of the same thing, although it does split there a little bit. But there's not a lot of road capacity east-west. And, when things get busy around here, they clog up a little bit. But this year, in the spring, we had the floods, and it took out the bridge on Beitner Road, and it's still out. They're still working on it. They say it might be Christmas before they have that completely fixed and open again. I don't know. And, of course, they're doing a lot of road construction, too, so there's random road closures and restrictions and all that stuff. But then South Airport Road has a little dip, and it's called Logan's Landing, and it dips down to the river, crosses the river, and then back up a hill. And that flooded over, but they were able to, it didn't take out it wasn't really a bridge. It's like conduits, or what do you call that? Where the big tubes under the road. And it almost took those out and didn't. So they were able to salvage the road and get it reopened fairly quickly. And between those two things, it's been, a real traffic jam around here. They had to put up some temporary lights, traffic lights, for intersections that don't normally handle that much traffic, and getting out on US 31, which is kind of the main highway through town. So it's been a real cluster around here. And then just the other day, South Airport Road had another problem in kind of the same area, a little up the hill. They had a sewer main break, and it heaved up the westbound side of South Airport Road, which turns into divided highway at that point. And so that really bunged up the works. And yeah, it's been fun. But they did get one lane open westbound, so not too terrible. But again, like I said, summer's been just flying along. I had a little health scare earlier this summer. I had a detached retina in my right eye. Luckily, my right eye is not my dominant eye, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I ended up having to have surgery, and I'll close my left eye here. I can kind of sort of read stuff on the computer screen. But right now, it's because my eyeball is full of oil. They use oil to hold the retina in place after they repaired it, and it stays in there 3-4 months. So I'll be having that oil removed in October. And they tell me that I should have full vision again in that eye. That'll be nice. But that's also kept me from flying. At least not, I can't fly by myself. I can fly, and I have a little bit with other people and airliners. In fact, I'm going to New York next month for a podcast movement. I got a speaking gig there. I'm doing a talk about podcasting 2.0 and why it's not fringe anymore. So if you're in New York and going to podcast movement, you'll be able to catch me Friday afternoon. I think it's at 3 o'clock or 3:30. I think it's 3 o'clock. They're at Terminal 5 in Manhattan, New York. So yay, New York City. I've been there in a really long time. Not that I remember a whole lot about it when I was there the last time, but so be it. Should be a good time. Let's see what else has been going on. Of course, we've been busy at Blueberry working on various technological things, such as getting this HLS thing out there. We did a deal with Podpage. Podpage is another way of making a website versus WordPress. It's a little easier, well, actually kind of a lot easier, because you don't actually have to maintain a website. It kind of maintains itself. You can go over there and make it look good and do lots of things with it. But rather than having us try to make a crappy landing page for your website, we just decided to give you a decent one. So that deal was pretty good. Brendan and Dave over there at Podpage made it real easy for us to integrate, and so far that's going really smoothly. We may have a little more to come on that, but yeah, I've been doing a lot of focusing on the work-related stuff. So sorry if I swerve into that a bit, but it's a techie and geeky stuff, and I kind of like the techie geeky stuff. Another thing I've been doing, and I haven't quite pulled the whole trigger on this, is I'm sort of migrating away from the Mac. I'll still always have at least one Mac, and it's really good at what it does. But I'm switching to Fedora Linux. I bought a Linux laptop. Well, actually, I bought a laptop and turned it into a Linux laptop. So my main laptop now is my ThinkPad, Lenovo ThinkPad, and I've got Fedora Linux on it, and I've found pretty much everything I need. Like right now, I'm recording in OBS and live streaming, I hope, on OBS. I guess I should see on YouTube there. Yeah, it is indeed live streaming. Don't know if anybody is listening and or watching, but it's quite possible. And that's okay. I just want it on YouTube too. Why not? But I can do this OBS thing on a Linux machine. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to buy or build a computer. I did that a long time ago, and I haven't done one since. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Order all the pieces, parts, and put it all together, and like I said, I'm going to replace this Mac that I use on my studio desktop here with a Linux machine, Linux workstation. It's going to be a little more than just the average PC. I'm going to have my normal 3 monitors and big hard drive, lots of RAM. I've been also playing around with the local AIs, running an AI locally rather than a service. On the laptop, I'm able to do it, but it's painfully slow with only 16 gigs of RAM. Excuse me, got the hiccups all of a sudden for some reason. Went and had Mexican tonight. Oh, it's good. We have a new Mexican restaurant in Traverse City, and it's quite the place, called Pistoleros. It replaced another Mexican place, which was also pretty good, Agave. But anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I've been sort of planning out a couple of episodes I want to do, and I never quite got past the planning stage. But coming up in the future, I want to talk more about kind of restaurant history and, food-related travels and, what's good where and that kind of thing. I've experienced a lot of that, and I just think it'd be a good story. So that's one of them in the pipeline. And another one is, all this computer technology. I know, a lot of you are probably on Windows, and I tried to set up a Windows machine. I didn't try, I did it. I set up a Windows machine for my mother. She bought a brand new one, and I had to kind of set it up and migrate her stuff over from her old computer and all that. Did that successfully. But man, oh man, is there a lot of stuff in Windows that, like, here, buy this, here, buy that, here, there's ads right in the operating system. And that's kind of what precipitated me, thinking about going, trying Linux as a desktop again. And I have to say that Linux, especially Fedora, KDE is more Windows-like, and Fedora is more, GNOME desktop. I know these are weird terms, but you could pick your desktop environment on top of your distribution. But the plain old Fedora workstation with GNOME seems to be the most Mac-like. I did try the KDE desktop, and of course it's kind of Windows-like, but I think almost everybody now could get away with running Fedora Linux or lots of other distributions out there. The way Linux works is kind of the kernel, and then there's various distributions where they package the kernel along with a desktop operating system and other features. If you're really hardcore and want to play on the command line a lot, there's one called Arch. Seems like everybody that uses Arch likes to brag about the fact that they use Arch. Nothing wrong with that. But like I said, I picked Fedora. I tried Ubuntu. That's kind of the newbie version, or Mint. Those are both really good for complete newbies into Linux, and they're perfectly fine. But I really do like Fedora. Fedora is kind of cutting edge. I don't know if everybody remembers Red Hat, but Fedora is kind of the testing grounds for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which a lot of companies use, but that's a paid-for product, where Fedora is free. And most of the software that you can get on Linux is free. It's open source, so it's not as slick and all that as all this paid-for stuff, but it does pretty damn good. For editing audio and video, there's apps out there in Linux world that do a really good job. On the Mac, I use Adobe Premiere, Adobe Audition, Adobe Photoshop, but there are suitable substitute apps that you can use. But like some of the stuff I use in my day-to-day work, Slack, Zoom, I don't know, there's a whole bunch, but Slack and Zoom seem to be the ones, and they do have a native Linux version, and they're just as good as Windows or Mac. And again, the thing about Linux is you can run it on pretty old hardware. I did install Fedora on a older Mac Mini, an Intel Mac Mini. You can't do it with the old Mac Minis pre 2014 or the newest ones with the M1 or M2 or M3 or M4, and I guess they're coming out with one with M6. But anyway, those chips don't work so well with Linux, although they're working on it. There is a project out there called Asahi Linux, which is Fedora on Mac M1, M2 hardware. But there are some limitations to it because a lot of the software runs on the Intel or AMD processors and not really compatible with the ARM processors that Mac had. Anyway, and since this is live video, I'm not editing this, so yeah, warts and all, as they say. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. Let's see what other interesting stuff's been going on, in the aviation world. I'm part of the Experimental Aircraft Association, or otherwise known as the EAA. And our local chapter here meets at a technician school to learn how to be a mechanic on airplanes called Legacy Aviation. If you go back a few episodes, I believe I played the interview with the founder of that school, Dan Jonkoff. And anyway, they got an old Coast Guard helicopter, and it was a helicopter that was stationed here at Air Station Traverse City, probably back in the 60s and 70s, an old H-52 helicopter. And they have that sitting over at Legacy right now, and over the next couple of years, that's going to get restored for a static display. Not sure where the static display is going to go, but it was pretty cool. They trucked it in the middle of the night, and I got a tour of it, and of course, the mice have had their way with it, so it's going to be quite a project to get that restored to be able to put somewhere as a static display. Over at the airport, the main entrance to the general aviation and Coast Guard side of the airport, there's a Falcon jet, which was also, I believe, stationed in Traverse City at one point in time. It's like a business jet. But the Coast Guard used them as search and rescue aircraft, and that's been sitting there, a static display by the edge of the airport. So yeah, that's an interesting project that's going on. A friend of mine bought an airport that had been closed down since, I believe, in the mid-90s. Acme Airport, and now it's called Historic Acme Sky Park or Sky something. Anyway, I forget exactly what they call it, but he's got the runway open with a little 1,600-foot grass strip, and has been refurbishing the hangars and actually turning the grounds into sort of a farm, which is kind of interesting because it is zoned agricultural, and as long as they're growing something on there, they can have an airstrip. So kind of a slick thing that's going on, and there are plans to expand the runway to somewhere around 3,000 feet, which will make it a whole lot more useful for more aircraft and pilots that don't feel comfortable landing on a short runway. But that's really fun. We were over there a couple of weeks ago for a cookout, and he's making really good progress over there on that airport, and it's pretty slick, and it's only maybe 4.5 miles from me. Of course, I'm only a mile, or not even a mile, to the actual runway at Traverse City. I'm probably 500 yards, but a mile from the air terminal for the airlines, and about the same to the general aviation side. So I'm real close to Traverse City, but Acme's still pretty close as well, which is going to be cool once they get the get the runway expanded and have some hangars for rent over there, or however that's going to work out. I think it's going to be a really good deal for the local aviation community and community at large. I mean, there's lots of cool stuff that come because there's an active airport around. Of course, Traverse City Airport, I think when I did that November show a day, I think I talked about some of the airport stuff, but that place is expanding. They're working on adding more gates to the terminal and more airlines coming in. So it's going to be a little bit busier place as well, which makes it nice for me who travels a little bit to have a decent airport close by. And that makes it neat, so like for going to New York, I'm going to fly out of here, go to Chicago, catch a plane to New York, and it's, pretty easy peasy. Not like it used to be where I'd have to drive down to Grand Rapids or Flint or Detroit even. I've done that before. I went out to Vegas one time. I drove all the way to Detroit to catch an airplane. And, that's a bit of a hike. And the way gas prices are lately, it's probably cheaper for me to pay a little extra to fly out of Traverse City. But I have a friend that is flying out to Minot, North Dakota tomorrow. And he actually lives in the Grand Rapids area. And it was cheaper for him to drive up here, park in our yard, and take an airplane from here to Minot. Actually, I think he goes through Minneapolis on the way. But anyway, it was cheaper for him to drive all the way up here and fly out of here. So the price difference is, sometimes it's cheaper up here. And that's the advantage of having, more airlines at an airport. The disadvantage of those of us that just put around in a bug smasher, we got to deal with airliner traffic. But the controllers here are really good. And as long as you have a little patience, you can get in and out of here just fine. And we don't slow the airliners down. They don't slow us down too much. And, we get along pretty well. This year at the Cherry Festival Air Show, we did not have any of the big jet teams here. Usually we either have the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds, but this year we did not. Did have a few jet demo teams and a lot of civilian demo team, or, demo pilots, whatever you call it, air show pilots. So I guess the show was really good. I didn't actually get to watch it. They even had a nighttime show where they had fireworks and an airplane with fireworks on it. And I don't know. I want to meet the pilot that does that. Fire and airplanes don't mix well. Plus, flying at night over water, because they do the air show over the bay. Not sure I have the cojones for that, but hey, so be it. So, like I said, I wanted to make a little bit of a longer form video version of Mike Dell's World. Of course, if you're on the normal podcast apps, you'll get the audio version. If you're on Apple Podcast, you'll notice that you'll be able to hit the little button to watch the video. And then if you hit it again to shut off the video, the audio will stay in sync. That's a new technology. HLS video isn't new technology. That stands for HTTP live streaming. Even though you're going to be watching a recording of this in Apple Podcasts, it is live streaming the static file. Whatever. It's all geeky stuff. But the upshot is you'll be able to watch those shows that do have a video component. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure I'm the type of person that needs to be in front of a camera, but we're doing it anyway. Do it live, as Bill said on Fox News one time. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Look that up sometime. I think it's his name. I'm losing it now. And it's been nice enough here. I've had the windows open, and so you might have heard an airplane in the background flying over. But it's kind of nice to not have to have the air conditioning or the heat on. And sometimes in northern Michigan, I have to do both in the same day. In the morning, turn on the heat. In the afternoon, turn on the air conditioning. So it's never perfect. I don't know if you can read that clock behind me if you're watching the video, but it's a little after 9, And let me look at the temperature. It's 77 in here. Now that might seem a little warm, but compared to 90 and 30, it's actually pretty comfortable. So I'll take it. With that, we'll call this a podcast. I'm going to stop the recording and hang out on the live stream for a sec here. Okay, recording is stopped. Although the live stream continues on as far as I know. I'm kind of curious if it's looking fine and doing its thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. Doesn't seem to be playing for me. There we go. Let's see if it's still moving. I'm kind of new to this YouTube live stuff, so there we go. All right, we'll catch you guys later, and y'all have a good evening. And now I got to figure out in OBS how to stop the streaming.